Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Elizabeth Chance podcast. I am so excited, for one, that it's my first guest on my podcast, which is Becky Shipos. And I have been friends with Becky Shipos for
Well, I was at your first meeting.
17 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
17 years. It's been 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
It
But
is.
before we go any further, let me do a shout out. Getting sober is a lifestyle change, and sometimes a little technology can help. Imagine a breathalyzer that works like a habit tracker for sobriety. SoberLink helps to replace both bad habits with healthy ones. Weighing less than a pound and compact as a sunglass case, SoberLink devices have built-in facial recognition, tamper detection, and advanced reporting, which is just a fancy way to say it'll keep you honest. On top of that, results are sent instantly to loved ones to help you stay accountable. I've been a recovery coach for a long time, and I can't think of a better tool to help people rebuild confidence and trust. Go after your goals. Visit www.soberlink/BLS and to sign up and receive $50 off your device. So this is really exciting, and this is episode 372. And I feel like, so Becky and I have known each other for 17 years, and we're going to fast forward because this is a pretty big day. And I really wanted to have somebody on that's a mom. This is like the biggest pinnacle day of the whole year for kids around the country. And it was first day of school. How
Mm-hmm.
was it?
Um, it was great. My kids were super, super excited. I have a second grader, kindergarten, and pre-K, and it's the first year. So they're at a new school, and all three of them are together, and all three of them are there full time. So it's a lot of new changes this year, and they were super excited. And yeah, and I just felt really. I'm just so thankful that they always have each other too.
It's
I know. Yeah. Go ahead.
it's so crazy because again, I knew you even before you knew your husband, and I love
Mm-hmm.
your husband to death. He's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
amazing, amazing. And you guys have built this beautiful family.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this was a big change for you. You've moved recently, you have a new
Yes.
school,
Mm-hmm.
and you have three little ones,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
you have a full-time job.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
is it?
Um, every day is different. There's some days where, you think you're like, I've got this. This is all good. And there's other days where you think you're gonna like, I don't got this. I'm going to lose my mind. Um, but it's honestly, I'm truly blessed to have three healthy children and to have the husband that I have, which is the foundation for all of this goodness, obviously, God being first, but um, yeah, it's a lot, but it's like I have to pause many times and remember that I have everything that I was praying for one day. There was a time when I was praying for everything that I have today. And, you know, I am grateful to have people that I can call to process things with so I can, you know, um, keep moving my feet and trying to raise these kids in the best way that I know how. Um, give them their wings. But yeah, there's days that it's certainly overwhelming for sure. But it doesn't um it doesn't compare to the many blessings that come with it, you know. So like even last week, for example, like thinking about all the stuff that you have to do to prepare your kids for school, all the papers you have to sign, all like the things you have to make, the emails you have to do, all that stuff, making sure that my daughter had her book report that I forgot was due, like those kinds of things. You can easily get caught up in it and be like, oh my God. And like it's self-inflicted overwhelm, but if I pause and I'm like, okay, well, what can I do right now to get some of this stuff done? It's just changing my perspective on that, if
How
that
do
makes
you
any
do
sense.
that? How do you change your perspective? Because I know that there's so many people that are out there that like I had three kids, and at your
Mm-hmm.
kids' ages, I was still drinking. right? I was
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
drinking then. And I can remember thinking back going, I just want time to go by. I just want time to speed by. I want them to
Yes.
be bigger. I want them to be more self-efficient.
Mm-hmm.
This is all too much. And when you get those feelings, what tools do you use? What is important for you to go to?
Um, well, when I go to those places, like it's interesting. I was thinking to myself how like over the past 2 weeks, I can't tell you how many times on any given day where I would be like, I can't wait for you guys just to be in school. Like I'm touched out, I'm overstimulated, like just give me some space. I need to breathe. And then that day arrives and you're like, oh my God. Like it's just motherhood is just such a trip. It's such a trip because um, you think to yourself, uh, I want them to be in school so I can like have a quote unquote break. And then they're in school and you're like, oh my God, I just cried the whole drive home from taking my daughter because it does pass by so fast. So what I do when I get those kinds of thoughts is I find myself like yesterday, they were all watching Super Mario Brothers for the 100th time. And I find myself just being like, you know what, I'm going to go watch it with them and sit down in the middle of them and make sure I'm touching all three of them. Like one of them's on my lap, one of them has her head on my, on my knee or whatever, but just make sure, and I'm holding my son's hand, but just make sure that I put myself in the middle of them. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like those are the moments that I want to remember, and I hope that they do as well. Is that they had a mom that, I'm not good at a lot of things, but I want them to remember that they had a mom that um, was with them, that took the time to be with them, that wasn't quote unquote too busy or those kinds of things. So that's how, to answer your question, that's what I do. I find myself stopping and just going and sitting with them, or picking them up, or holding them, or making a concerted effort to be the kind of person that I don't know, just be there instead of running around, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's just all so self-inflicted. It doesn't get me anywhere. It's so toxic for me. It just doesn't work.
But that you recognize that is so huge,
For
in my
sure. And
opinion.
I had to have some pain in order to recognize that. It had to stop working. There was a time I think where, I can find myself going there because it's like it's almost like we live in a society that's like a busy competition.
Mhm.
What are we competing? Are you busier than me? Oh my God, you must be really important. And it's like I don't know, it's just not something that like this is what I asked for. This is what I prayed for. This is the life that I wanted. Um and I just I don't know, bringing my attention always back to, what's under my roof, which is my husband and my three kids and myself. Always making sure that my cup is filled so I can be available to them. Like if that means that other things have to fall by the wayside, such as, I don't know, organizing my kids' toys. Like I'm in their toy room right now. It's completely disorganized. I'm sitting at their little table and chairs. That's where I'm sitting right now. And it's not organized by any stretch of the imagination. And but those are things that fall by the wayside because if I need to fill my cup, so I can just be there for them. They can come home and find me smiling because I was able to fill my cup today, and that whole like busy thing. It's just, yeah, it doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel icky. But I had to get to that place where, and sometimes I find myself having to remove myself from people who do participate in that, if that makes any sense. There's a lot of people that participate in that. They tell me how busy they are all the time. So I just kind of smile. If that works for them, that's great. But I can't participate in that.
Is that,
So that's how.
have you ever had a miracle happen in your life?
Yeah, for sure. I have, for sure.
Will you give us an
Um,
example of one?
I can. So when I had my third child, my daughter Kyla, um, I was active. I got sober when I was 21 by the grace of God. Um, but I also have bulimia. And when I got sober, the bulimia took on a life of its own. It just took off. And again, same thing with like the whole busy thing. It worked for a time. It worked. It gave me, a feeling of like numbing out or escaping, just like the busy thing. You kind of use that to numb out from what's really going on. Whatever happened to the world where it's like, just freaking do it. Like, why? Stop wasting your time telling me how busy you are. Just freaking do it. Just move your feet. Do it. I don't care. None of us is really that unique, but I don't mean that in a mean way, but we're so much more alike than not. But my miracle was when I had my daughter Kyla. I remember my other two were sleeping. I had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, and then a newborn. Um, and I remember my husband had fallen asleep on the couch. My other two were sleeping. Like I said, it was probably like 8 o'clock at night. I had just fed her, and I'm sitting on the floor in the TV room, and I'm just thinking. I was still thinking about binging and purging, and I was still thinking about how am I going to binge and purge with these 3 kids? How am I gonna work around that? How, instead of thinking about like it was just such a big, the disease had gotten so big for me that instead of trying to, I was just still thinking about it and obsessing. And I just had a moment where I have my cousin who, she and I are similar age, and she too is in the program for an eating disorder and alcoholism. And I just texted her and I just told her, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm thinking about binging and purging. I'm still really obsessing. And I hadn't really completely put it down since, I started at the age of 15, and I had my third child when I was 40. So the miracle came for me that's the day that I stopped. That's the day that I stopped. And there's still times where I'm like driving out today, I'll be like, oh my God. So I did it, like I said, from the age of 15 to 40. And so of course I can have like band-aids that get ripped off on any given day, like memories that come up, especially like if I'm taking my kids to an old stomping ground. The fact that I don't have any desire to participate in that today is there, but for the grace of God, go I. 100% miracle, 100% shift. I never in a million years, I thought it was what was going to take me down. I thought that's what was going to kill me with my bulimia. This is just the way that it is. I'm constitutionally incapable. I'm one of those constitutionally incapable people. That's me. I just could never stop. I would stop for like a week and then go back. And like I would, anything that overwhelmed me or anything that I didn't want to feel, if I was not feeling comfortable in my own skin, which I've learned today, like all of us feel that way none of us feels good every single day. And I wanted to feel good every single day. So that's a whole new like learning, like sitting with like being uncomfortable, and realizing that like the next day could be a totally different day. But the miracle for me was that's the day that I stopped. Was I was just sitting there with this newborn. She was like a week old, and a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I was like, first of all, so overwhelmed by that in and of itself. Take away the bulimia. And then you throw the bulimia on top of 3 kids under the age of 3. I was like overwhelming myself. And so my cousin was a critical player in that like she checked on me multiple times a day. I was able to be completely honest with her. And then I started listening to your podcast. I would get all 3 kids in the car, which was a whole, as any mom can attest to, like getting all 3 of your kids into a car seat and shutting the door. Like that's a whole, my day was done after that. But I can remember putting them all in the car seat and just wanting to go to like get a coffee through a drive-through. Like that's what we did. And I would like take them to the car wash because that's all I could do. Like taking all 3 of them to a store. I got to the point where I was able to do that. But in the very beginning, that scared the crap out of me. I can still remember, like we were at the pool the other day and there was a mom there and she had a newborn and she had 2 little ones and she had 2 little ones each attached to her stroller. And they walked by and I was like, Ruby, to my oldest, I was like, do you remember when I would do that all the time? I would have to like talk to Ruby and Vince and be like, listen, you hold on to this part of the stroller, you hold on to that part of the stroller, and I'm going to, push the stroller. But we had like this whole system because they were 1 and 2 years old, they could just run off anywhere. But so anyway, so I would get them into the car and go get a coffee, and I would turn on your podcast, and I would just, because I really wasn't going to a lot of meetings at the time. It was just, everything was just so new for me. Like these 3 kids was such a change for me. 3 babies, no less. But I would listen to your podcast, and then one day I was just like, I need somebody to talk to. And I emailed you, and you emailed me back within like 30 seconds. And and then you'd been there, done that. You've already raised 3 kids. Anything I'm telling you is not news. So yeah, so that's, to answer your question, that is how I've gotten through it, is working the steps, praying. I mean, praying throughout the day is what works for me, is pausing and praying. A lot of times I find that as I mature in the program and get more emotionally sober, the less I have to say. if that makes sense. I find myself just kind of keeping my mouth shut because my peace is the most important thing to me. So that's what I find most recently is just like everybody has an opinion, but I don't need to tell everybody my opinion about everything. If
Which
that makes, I can,
it totally makes sense.
and
And
it gives me more peace than I can say.
so do you believe in God?
Mm-hmm. 100%. I wouldn't be here. Would not be here without him. My kids are in Catholic school right now. Sacrificed everything that we can to make sure that they're able to have a faith-based education. Yes, I believe in God. And teaching my kids to have a relationship with him is my biggest, that's what I want for them. Because life gets lifey and life gets hard for all of us. No one's life is harder than anybody. God deals all of us a hand. That's I feel like he gives us what he needs to give us in order for us to draw closer to him. And, all of us have trials. All of us have crosses to bear. Some of us more so, some of them are heavy, heavy crosses, but he gives them to people that I think he uses those people to teach us of what he's capable of, because he's able to give us the strength that surpasses anything, any human kind of strength. So yeah, I believe in God 100%.
And did you go to Catholic school yourself?
I did. I went to Catholic school. I was actually thinking today, my daughter's in pre-K, and I had to send her with like a little blanket for like rest time. And I remember vividly I started in preschool and I went to Catholic school all the way through high school. But I remember being at Catholic school when I was in preschool, and the same age as my daughter, my youngest now. And I just remember at nap time, I taught myself how to snap and just being so excited to run home and tell my mom that I learned how to snap. Like but I was her age. And that's just such a vivid memory for me.
Isn't
And I
that
was thinking about that today when I dropped her off because she had her little nap blanket thing. Yeah. And I was doing that at nap time. I remember asking the teacher if I could go to the bathroom or to the potty, whatever, because I just wanted to snap. So anyway.
So did you always continue to go to church, or did you find a time like a lot of people that it stopped being a priority and you did something different?
It definitely stopped being a priority because, when my kids were all super, super little, I mean, you could certainly still say that they're little now, but when they were littler, yeah, I was not taking them to church. But last year was when we started to get back into going every single Sunday. But to your question, it's kind of like AA. Like I can stop going, but when I go back, it's still going to be there. Like what a gift. Like church is still there. And AA is still going to be there. How many times I oftentimes hear people who are like, I haven't been to a meeting in months, but you go back and it's still there and you're still going to find the help that you need. And you go to church and you're still going to find the peace that God wants to give to you. And it's, obviously you don't only find God in church, but I like to go to church to hear the sermon and to, get community and to instill that, in my children, that faith that they can go there and be a part of.
And you don't feel guilty if you don't have to go, because I know like you're about to embark, as Becky mentioned, she has two girls and a boy in the middle, and like everything's starting right now. I mean, I know your kids are very active, aren't they?
They are. Mm-hmm. Yes, they're all like doing their little activities and stuff, like most kids. Yeah.
Right. But it's a lot, because I remember
Mm-hmm.
at least when I was growing up, I'm 10 years older than you, and we didn't have all these things to do every
Yeah.
weekend when I was growing up. It was like, really, it was only, okay, you have to go to Sunday school and you have to go to
Yes.
church. But there was not,
Right.
oh my gosh, you have to go to soccer, or you have to go to ballet. That was
So
all
true.
after school. So now
Mm-hmm.
that this is all coming in, are you going to be regimented about it? Or do you think you're going to be more like, I'm going to take it in a way that's not lackadaisical, but you're going to be a little more balanced, in that you're going to have a little bit of time for rest for your kids? Because when are they
For
ever
sure.
get a chance to
For
sit
sure.
around?
100%. Yes. I guess it goes back to the whole one day at a time thing, one weekend at a time. If there's a weekend where like they're running from place to place to place and we wake up on Sunday morning and we're like, oh my gosh, we're not feeling it today. Like we're really tired, and we don't go, you know, but I do think it's important for the most part, like it's 1 hour just to walk. We can walk to church, and I enjoy that. It's not something where I'm like, oh, like I know my kids like it too. Um, I, for the most part, I mean, it's important to me. I'm not going to be like, hurry, get to church, get to church. Like if one of them is not feeling great, or if they're tired, or they run around. Like, of course, yeah, no big deal. But for the most part, try to make it a part of our Sundays for sure.
So that is so much fun because I remember when I was made to go, and then you belong. At least I had a resentment towards it. I'm like, oh my God, we gotta
Yeah,
go find something to do.
yeah,
We gotta go smoke cigarettes behind the Sunday school. I mean, like literally to do
yes,
anything
totally.
besides have to go show up. And I think
Yes.
that's amazing. So today being, the first day back to school, your daughter
Hmm.
Kyla, it was her first day of like
Hmm.
going to school.
Yes.
And luckily I got to talk to you before that we recorded this
Yeah.
podcast, and you told me this, and I would love for you to share it. What your daughter said to you in the car.
So my second grader and my kindergartner, Ruby and Vince, they were like so excited about the bus, the adventure of it all, and meeting some friends on the bus, which I think is the cutest. And so they got on the bus, and it was so cute because I just want to say I did hear Ruby say to Vince, Vince, we should sit together. And I just thought that was so cute. But what Kyla said,
Write
so I
that
did.
down because who knows how long that's going to
No,
last.
exactly, for sure, for sure. And but going back to your church thing, I just wanted to go off and say I can remember as a teenager like wanting to go just because I had a crush on like so many of the boys that were there. So it was like that's what I was like up and at him out of bed. I was like, okay, what am I going to wear to church today? Or if we go get First Holy Communion, I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally hope that we get to pass like Brandon Vitale and his brother. Who knows where they are now? But that was my thought process. And Joe Imperiale. Oh my God. So my girls are probably going to be like so excited to go to church at like 13, 14 years old. um anyway, so what I took Kyla to school because she can't take the bus till next year. And we're pulling in, and it was so great because like all of like the teachers and the principal and the pastor, they all had on t-shirts that said we are family in this school, which as a mom dropping off her kid, like that just brought me to tears. I was overcome right away. So I just love that message. And so I pull up, and Kyla goes, Mommy, my heart's pounding. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. And, I was like being excited and scared and nervous and happy and about to meet new friends. It's a new beginning. To have our heart pound means that, we're definitely alive. And my husband and I say that to our kids all the time, because if they tell us that they're excited and nervous, well, you're alive. Like I was like, I feel that way all the time. When you just called me this morning, like, will you come on my podcast? I was excited and nervous. And when I logged into this, my heart pounded a little bit. I'm like, I'm alive. I'm feeling. I don't need to numb that out today. Thank you, God. Because that, as an addict, that's always my first. I'm like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not feeling comfortable. How can I get comfortable? And what I practice today is I can get comfortable by just sitting and feeling the beginning of it, the middle of it, and the end of it. And you asked me about a miracle. That's a freaking miracle to be able to sit and feel the discomfort. And it doesn't stay, it goes. It's almost like watching a movie. Right, I'm uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable. And it passes. Miracle. And miracles that I'm able to teach that to my kids, because I can't teach anything to them unless I'm practicing it myself.
And it's hard
So,
when life gets lifey, right? I mean, there are days that
oh,
you're
for sure.
and how do I get back to center, especially in the mornings when everybody's running around, right?
Yes, for sure. And like today was a really early start, which was new for me because my kids' school was not so early to start, early of a start last time. Um, but yeah, it's getting back to center because yeah, I mean, I'm not like yeah, I have my moments, but the miracle is I have the tools today where I'm like, oh my God, it used to work. Like I used to like, it's almost like you get a high off of like, oh my God, I'm so busy. Run to this. Oh my God, did you brush your hair yet? Did you brush your teeth yet? Oh my God, would you snap to it? Get to it. Come on, do it. Oh my God, the bus is coming in 5 minutes. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And it's like you would get like it's almost like a high off of that. And then there comes a time where like, oh my God, I don't like the way this feels at all. It's like the drinking stops working. The high wears off. And what works for me, what's worth it more than anything to me, is to just calmly walk through it and be like, listen, you got to get your teeth brushed. The bus is coming. And if you don't brush them, then I'm going to have to help you. So you make the choice. And they brush their teeth. And, and also too, like, I think we live in a world today where everything's on social media, and you have this whole, like, things look a certain way. So you can take that and try to apply it to your own life. And, like, if things don't look the way you want them to look, you can lash out at your kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I told you, stand up there, make this perfect, make this perfect. And none of that's worth it. It's none of that's being okay with, like, them just being kids. You know what I mean? Like, my kid, my son has his shirt tail out. I mean, they're just kids. They are who it doesn't have nothing, but that too is a journey. I have to create some pain before I get to the other side of that.
And
That too has to stop working.
And so do you look at social media? Are you on social media at this point?
I'm not. It's like, it just doesn't work for me right now, because I can just go down rabbit holes, and I feel like I just waste so much of my day. Just, and also, I've just never been the kind of person that, like, posts all these things about my kids, and just so I can question myself, like, should I do that? Why? Maybe if I don't do that, like, will anybody not know anything about my kids? Do they think that they don't do anything? It's just the whole dialogue that we can tell ourselves. It's just not a safe place for me to be. It's a dangerous place for me. I don't know if it'll ever be a better place for me, but it's a frightening time for me to be raising, especially daughters, in a time where they have all these filters. Everything looks perfect. I need a certain amount of likes. So and so didn't like my thing. That's teenagers today, but magnifying it with social media. Like, I don't know how I'm going to navigate that. I trust that God will provide that for me when the time comes. Obviously my daughters don't have phones, and they won't for a while. But yeah, I just think that's it's so tricky. It's basically like, hey, do you want an eating disorder? Let me hand you, look at all these, they can make themselves look in a way that's not real. That scares me.
Oh, it is so scary. And getting up, was it hard for you to put it down? I mean, how did you do it?
Was it hard for me to put it down? I mean, yeah, sure. I always wonder. Like, I ask my husband, I'm like, what's going on with so and so or so and so? And there's been times where I've gotten back on, and then I, like, go down a rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh my God, not good, not good. And the big rabbit hole for me is, like, I see these people post all these things, and like I said, I don't post things. I'm like, should I be bragging about my kids, or I don't know. It's just, but your question was, how did I put it down? Or
Yeah,
I just took it off my phone, deactivated my account.
and it's given you freedom.
Yes. There's so much time left in your day.
Well, if you think about it, so we've already mentioned you're sober, so you're part of that. You have 3 children, you have a husband, you have a job. Like, when do people humanly possible have the time to really even go and do the social media thing? I mean, I know people are like, look at me, look at my kids. Isn't this great? Isn't this great? I have to do it for work. I hate it. As you know, I hate it. I want to hire someone to do it. And I know it's an evil necessity to life right now.
Yeah.
I was listening to Joe Rogan and that Oliver, who sang that song North of Richmond. And he had said, I do my own social media. He's like, because I don't want people putting stuff out there that I don't believe in, but he's not on there a lot. And neither is Joe Rogan. Like, they just don't.
Yeah. Yes.
Unless they have to.
Yeah. And, like, I thought about too, like, taking it off my phone and then putting it back on to, like, post a picture, but then taking it back off. Like, so it's like, you're not going down that whole, I can start looking at those reels of, like, even like recipes, or, redecorate your house, or wear this outfit. And I'm just like, oh my God. They make it look so much easier, in my opinion, than it really is. Or you need this, you need to go spend money on this, and all that stuff.
Oh, I can tell you that I was doing it today. I went down this reel this morning. I was just, I don't know, in the bathroom. The bathroom. You're like, oh, I'm going to look at my phone when I'm in the bathroom. And I was like, and this person had this thing up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so cool. I'm going to see how much it costs. I might buy it.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, for sure. Like, it convinces you that you need it when you were doing just fine without it.
But
you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's such a weird, so I know my kids are going to be like, oh, so-and-so has this. I need this. I need this. Or I saw this on this, like, oh, but it's just like when you're watching cartoons and the commercials come on for all the toys. It's the same thing that they do to the kids that they're going to do, that they do with social media to us. And yeah.
So how are you feeling about the new school and being with new parents? Because for you, it's kind of like a first day of school as well, right?
Yes, that's a great way to put it. That's it. Yeah, you're right. How am I feeling? I feel excited. They've had like a couple of like orientations and social gatherings and stuff over the past couple of weeks where I've been able to meet some of the parents, and I just feel really thankful. And met my kids' teachers, and um, that too has been a journey for me. Like the whole mom culture today. I used to struggle a lot with it, and another miracle. I've just gotten to the other side of that too. Like I used to think like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to like hang with, and this was my head talking. I have no facts for this, but the narrative that we tell ourselves, like you're not going to fit because you don't drink. And it's like a drinking society today. And that's what brings people together. And that's not true. The more I come to recognize my own self-worth, which again, a journey, the more I'm like, it's okay that I don't drink and nobody really cares. And I've got, stuff to bring to the table. And if they don't like me, that's fine. But I just feel more confident in those types of settings. And I'm excited to meet more people and to, have my kids' friends over and stuff. So it's exciting.
It is. It's so exciting. Now I'm going to ask you one last question. I know you have to run.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of deep.
Go ahead.
Where do you think we go when we die?
I think that we go to be with our creator, with God. And I think when we die, we return to him, and we review all of the, how many times we're able to be of service to him, to do his will while he had us down here. And I also think that we return to all of our family that have gone before us. And I envision them welcoming us with open arms, almost like it's like a dance, that's how I envision it. It's like if you're free, you're light, you're at peace. And it's I feel like there's eternal life for sure, for all of us. So that's where I think we go, as I return to the person that made us.
It's so beautiful. And
It's such a great vision to have when the times get tough too. Like, what is God trying to show me here? All right, again, I'm uncomfortable. Things aren't going the way I wanted them to go. Things aren't going the way that I hoped that they would go. But what's he trying to show me? Why does he have this person in my path? Why is this obstacle here? Keep the faith. Keep the faith.
that faith, that faith is so hard for us right now, especially, and I was saying it on, Monday's podcast, going to this place today where there's so much darkness. I went walking with somebody this morning and we were talking about the dark, like there's all this scary stuff. We could go down those rabbit holes, or we could feed the faith and be in the light.
Yeah. Yes.
And
the rabbit holes are just, today, for sure, the light, for sure. For sure. I envision like my kids getting home and I just want to smile and have, a snack ready and excited to hear about their day when they're ready to share it, which is usually like bedtime. So,
and I love that they are there together. They're all in
I know. Yeah, I do want to say one thing that I love is, so obviously I have 3, so I love how each of them has a word, and when I point to them, they say it. So Ruby is best, Vince is friends, and Kyla is forever. So they go down the line and I point to them. I'm like, when I point, you have to say your word. And Ruby's like best, and Vincent says friends, and Kyla says forever. And I'm like, louder. And I make them go louder. I'm like, louder for the people in the back, louder. And I'm like that, and then they do it. And I envision them doing that for the rest of their lives. That's my hope, is that they're best buddies. And, I know they're going to have their stuff, but they can handle that amongst themselves. I don't need to meddle in any of that. You know what I mean? I just, again, God created them to be siblings because they were meant to be together. So they're going to, my hope and my prayer is that they're always there to help each other. So I was trying to instill that, remind them of that this morning, that they all have each other. A blessing of being close in age.
And how did you come up with these words that you gave each one a word? How did you come up with that? Or did you invent it yourself, or did you find it?
No, I never saw it. It started on when I would drive them to school last year, before we would, 5 minutes away from school, I just started it because it's just kind of, I don't ever want to create walls between them, which is something that I have experienced. Um, and, my own childhood. Um, so I mean, I don't mean that in a negative way, but if it's like, all parents are breaking cycles. That's what we do. My parents broke cycles. I'm breaking cycles. My kids are going to break cycles because guess what? I make a lot of mistakes, but all I can do is say, I'm so sorry, and recognize it and validate them. But I don't know. It started last year. I'm like, best, because also too, I have one son, so I don't ever want his sisters to, you know, leave him out or any of that. So that's how it started. I drop off last year. I would be like, say it louder. And they love it because they get really loud. They're like, best friends forever. And then I'm like, do a quick huddle, quick huddle, quick huddle. We got each other. We're always going to have each other. Right. So that's on me. And, if I don't do anything else right, I just want to instill, build a friendship between the three of them, and, teach them to have to lean on God in the good times and the tough times, which, come every single day.
You're doing such a good job. All I can
Thank
think about
you.
were the Eagles. I know that her husband Phil, is like one of the biggest Eagles fans out there.
Yeah.
And all I can
Yes.
think of them is the Eagles going, E-A-G-L-E-S.
Yes. Yes.
And instead they're doing
Yes.
best friends. I love it.
Yep. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes. I love you tons.
And sitting in my discomfort. I love you tons. You're doing a great service here, helping so many people. So I'm always cheering you on.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. If you have any questions or anything, you can always reach me at elizabeth@elizabethchance.com. And until next time, keep enjoying life. Don't be by yourself. Reach out. Do things that are uncomfortable, like pick up that phone, get together with more people, and don't be alone. Until next time, you got it. Take care.